I'm glad to see the distinguished audience here. More glad that you have come to listen to the school teacher. Otherwise, who listens to the school teachers these days? Well, so I would uh, actually congratulate this Creatnet team that the kind of work they are undertaking. Whatever limited understanding I have, I could see that there is a complete situation which is going against the public education system. And particularly in India, when day and night we see the news that how the system is failing day by day, particularly the schools. And in that situation, if trying to promote the public education, it is actually like swimming against the stream. So that work they are doing, so it's really a wonderful work. I would like to start with the life of the teacher in these schools. I believe that most of you, in fact all of you, are aware of the scenario in this school as a student, teacher, administrator, principal. You have been there. So if you look at a typical school classroom, so what we see there that generally the students are busy in writing something, in memorizing something, in reading something, and the teacher in teaching something, writing something on the board. And if you question them that what are you doing, if you question the student, the answer would be that I am completing the work because the teacher has told, or memorizing something because the question will come in the exam, or completing certain work because the copy would be sent to the principal office to be checked. So these are the work which students are involved in. Asking the teacher that what you are involved in, so obviously completing the syllabus as it is a part, and the exam, the exam is over the head. So that's what I find is most mechanical. Both the student and teacher, once outside the boundary of the school, they work so intelligently, everybody. Even a small child, watching the television will change the channel if the content doesn't fit. And he is aware what he is going to see. But once inside the boundary of the school, all the people, they start working mechanically. So this inability to look beyond that line which the assessment has drawn, that examination, the assessment, that has made our work mechanical actually. And then what happens when we work mechanically, we actually see that the work has become monotonous. So the work which we are supposed to do, the discovery of the knowledge, the discovery of the life, which the philosophers believes that one of the most wonderful work one can do, the pursuit of knowledge, right? That's very unfortunate situation I feel is. And from being a teacher, we have become a technician who is actually helping the students how to score more. We need to look this in a larger picture, that how it all began. So if you refer to the schooling and its beginning, it actually has a colonial past. When it was introduced, the idea was that to train a bunch of people who could support the government and who could support the government in administrative functions. There are recorded evidences in the history books that students were failed deliberately in class 10th, in class 12th, so that they cannot claim a degree and so they cannot become eligible for a job. That was the rule, that was actually the policy during the colonial period. And what we see now, more than 65 years after our independence, we have the independent government. The objectives of the education is completely different now. But we still listen that the बच्चे तो आजकल डरते ही नहीं हैं एग्जाम से, right? The government changed, the colonial era has gone, but we are still carrying the same attitude, the same mindset. The बच्चे तो आजकल डरते ही नहीं हैं. What we assume actually when we say that बच्चे आजकल डरते ही नहीं हैं, that assessment, that examination is actually to threaten what they used it, the colonial government, and we are still carrying with the same कि डरते ही नहीं हैं. So that is very problematic because it is actually seeing the things in a power relation. The one who assesses and the one who is assessed, there is always a power relation. So as long as we continue the assessment with this power relation, that will not help us. This has to be seen with some other relation, in some other context. definitely there are many people, they are committed to work, they have the willingness to work, they are active. But the major challenge they face, that is the system don't allow them to work. There are so many constraints. I agree to them to a certain extent. But I also believe that all the system which we have, that it's we the people who have created it. And so we always have the power to, each individual has the power and the capacity to change, to modify, or at least to influence the system. There is always a space of negotiation between the capacity of the individual and the institution to work. Well, in my school, I'm a teacher of social science. Along with that, I'm a class teacher. Many of you are aware of the responsibility of the class teacher and all. So we are expected that we need to, look for the proper dressing of the students, that whether they have the shoes or not, whether they are wearing the belt or not, whether the dresses are clean or not. It may have its own merits and demerits. Sometimes I feel uncomfortable doing these all things, but I would like to show the things that how I tried to do that. This was a self-assessment, right? Look here, that the student himself has written that, that making choti, juta, and all such things. It's a checklist on date-wise. That's whether I am doing this. So it's a self, evaluation checklist. So now I just made this design. They have copied it from the blackboard, and they do it on their own to self-check it. And I found that there is an improvement. They themselves, when they see that there is a continuous, cross on a certain things, they try to work on it. They share it, that why there is a particular reason that they are not doing that. The other, which I'm going to talk about now, the major challenge which we face when we go to the class, that most of the students are not able to read and write, and then teaching them is a difficult task. When I say read and write I mean doesn't copy from somewhere. They know, many of the students. Write, what I mean that if I ask the students to write a couple of lines on a tree, the answer is, sir, abhi yaad nahi kiya hai. I haven't memorized it. So that's shocking. That if you ask them to write on tree or cow or any such things, something which is related to their day-to-day life, and they tell you कि अभी याद नहीं किया है इसलिए नहीं लिख सकता. That's really shocking actually. So I very strongly feel that whatever is there in the textbook and whatever they do in the school, that has a very strong relation with their day-to-day life. This is how the things have been designed. And it's the primary work of the teacher and the student to together discover that relation. I started doing some work and I asked them, the students, to just write 1 page a day. And I was not giving any topic to write, that you write on this particular topic. They were habitual of writing on topic. They insisted, sir, please give me the topic. But I refused. So it was a freedom, choose any topic, anything. For some students, it was quite difficult who were not habitual. If I could have given the topic, they could have copied it from somewhere. Yes, I got the content. But there were no topics, so they again insisted, please guide us how to write. So in the beginning, I told them, you can even write a song, but don't copy it. If you know some song, write it down, right? You can note down the things what you see when you are walking from your house to the school. The man, cars, animals, trees, colors, anything, whatever you want, you just write it down. This is how they began. This is the student of the class only who started keeping the record. So if there are 40 students in the class, I made the groups of 10, and one of them started keeping the record that who is writing and who is not writing by this method. I was not keeping the record. The student themselves was keeping the record. This work is going on for now more than a year. When they wrote for 3-4 months, one day I asked that, can you encircle the mistake which you make? And to my surprise, most of the students came with the wrong words which they have used. Otherwise, I was never pointing out, this is a mistake, you need to correct that earlier. And they came out with this, that they were aware now that these are the mistakes they are making. So now these students are in class 10th, and what they are writing now is actually, I don't believe sometimes that they can write so well. And that has enabled me to do some more interesting work. Now what I'm doing actually with their writing, the 2 things which I would like to talk about, that they have become self-aware. They question their life around, and they question themselves also. So basically in this write-up, the student is talking about the culture of show off. That student is also writing कि it's not कि मैं ये नहीं करती हूँ, मैं भी ये सारा काम करती हूँ, लेकिन सोचती हूँ कि ऐसा क्यों करती हूँ. That is how, I mean, I could not believe that the students would write. Couple, I would quote here, it was not possible to bring most of the things. One student was writing on Bal Vivah, and she wrote a line that कहते हैं कि शादी विवाह बच्चों का खेल नहीं है, फिर बच्चों की शादी क्यों कर देते हैं. That is how the student was actually trying to relate, right? And they wrote on the variety of issues, on caste, on gender, on religion, and so many things. Now, what they were writing, that actually became the content of the class now. So the problem which they were facing with the textbook content, which was something kind of, alien for them. And for the very first time, they started owning the content. So the level of engagement changed completely, which kind of empowerment, that they were now free to write anything, to ask anything, to question the teacher. They have become critically aware actually. I also tried to, negotiate a bit with the assessment here. So I started designing the questions where they have the opportunity to write on their own. We have a chapter called Gender, Caste and Religion in class 10th in social science. So now the questions were like, they were supposed to write the discussions which they hear in their family about other religious groups. They were supposed to write now about the gender role which is there in the family, their own observation and understanding of caste. So that the work which they are doing now, that have also become the part of assessment. I started assessing them on their own work only. In the beginning, they found it very uncomfortable. Now, for the first time, they were helpless, and all different students need to write different answers because the questions were designed in such a way. So they found it difficult, but anyhow, they could do this. Now they are habitual of doing all such things. What was the impact? That all the students with whom I'm working, all the students could manage to pass, all the 40 students. Those students could not pass in other subject, many of those, but in my subject, they all managed to pass. Even the assessment was not minus. So that was a great surprise for me. It's the empowerment of the student is actually the empowerment for me. And what I see that how these all things are working, that me and the students have together actually dismantled the power relation in the class. And that has made them more powerful. Here is a, can you guess what it is? Yeah, I would like to hear. Free writing, yeah. Any more guess? Well, actually this is the answer sheet of SA1 examination of one of the students. But basically this is a student of class 8th who has written this. And the general observation would be the students must have been very stupid, that who could write like this or know nothing, has wasted time and energy of the teacher and the school. But that's not the case actually. Let me tell you that this student is the student with a special need or differently able student actually. So we put all the effort. We have EBCG teacher, we have psychological counselor, and all kind of help, whichever we could do, we have provided the help. But he couldn't learn it. So we failed to actually teach him how to read and write. He's in now class 8. For last 3 years, we have been seeing that he enjoyed his life to the fullest in the school. We all accommodated him actually. In every functions, whether it's a sports day or annual day, we used to give them the prize, the medals, right, and every such things. But now he is going to meet the dead end, and that is where the assessment is. That this assessment is not going to allow him to move forward. At one hand, we talk about the inclusion in the school, the inclusive education, but we don't figure out that how this inclusive education will work with this kind of assessment, that how we will allow this student to move ahead. At one hand, we believe that the different students have different capabilities, but on the other hand, we expose all such students for the same pattern of the question, one kind of questions. There is a growing kind of fanatism in our country about the standardization of the test, right? And this is what happen when the more and more standardization will happen. That many students, here he is going to meet the dead end because of he is differently able, but that is not true. In the era of the standardized test, the many good quality students will also meet the dead end. That is going to happen. So it's a challenge. We'll have to maintain a high standard of the performance, but not through the standardization. We'll have to be the partner in the growth when we assess the things. We all would like to have a coach, right? But how it is different, the way we assess and the way our coach assess. Because coach is the partner in our growth. The coach actually enjoy the taste of our success and failure together with us. But the situation is different the way we assess the students. When the students fail, rather they comment, कहता था पढ़ लेने के लिए अब भुगतो अपना. So this difference, enjoying the failure of the other is actually problematic. And perhaps when the success and the failure of the students would be seen as the success and failure of the teacher together, I think the situation will change. If there is an exam tomorrow and the child is studying till late night, the parent is also waking up along with the student, because that parent is a partner, right? Cannot blame just, padha nahi tumne. It's a partner. So that idea I think we'll have to bring here, and that would be beautiful that if we could, adopt the idea of assess to assist. We all love to be assessed in that case, but at the same time, we all hate to be categorized.